giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
You are the only participants in the conference.
Here we go, Cowboys Nation. Hey, it's Monday, long weekend. But we here, we live, we made it. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Freeman Mazda Hyundai. Streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. We made it. I gotta bear with me in this offseason, man. My apologies. But today we talk about my favorite group, my favorite position in any sport, the safeties. So get my safe word ready for me. Nah, I won't keep y'all too long. We'll breeze through this. It's not like it was last year where it was pretty deep in that room. But there's some interesting names that we'll talk about. And in the roundup, Dak talked to the media for the first time in a few weeks. And actually the last time until we get to training camp. So we'll listen to what he had to say just a little bit. I won't play the entire, I guess, interview that he had with the media. And we'll get into that. And also Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz, one more go about it with the Cowboys. I'll play a little snippet of NFL Network's, I believe it's Mike Garofalo, who talked about Dalton Schultz potentially getting signed in the next 4 days. So we'll get there when we get there, Cowboys Nation. Antoine Swain said no safe word. All right, we talking about safeties today, so technically you might have to put the safe word away because we're going to have about an hour and a half show worth of that. Maybe an hour and a half show. We'll see. Professor O said, we'll keep you long. SpongeBob voice. 8 hours later. That's usually how it goes. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all, man. I love y'all for being here early in the morning. Even though I'm going through my craziness with the sounds and everything. See, sounds of blackness, optimistic. I got to be optimistic. Even though it didn't come on correctly, we figured it out. I say it all the time. I don't got state-of-the-art equipment. I don't got a producer. I'm everything here, so we try to figure it out myself. Somebody asked, how was SmackDown? It was amazing, man. I had a great time. My boys had a good time. It was tough for them to see, but we adjusted, and everything worked out. And we'll likely go to another event that they have around here in Dallas. That's the beautiful thing about living in a city like this. So much goes on that we could be there. You can actually see our sign on TV. So if you want to run that back, you'll see our sign. It says "Kneel to the Steels" because that's what Drew McIntyre's saying is for his sword and everything. So check that out if you get a chance, man. Get a chance. But let's run through this real quick before we get in because I see we're building up. We're already building up people in the building, and I don't want to keep y'all too long. Shout out to J.A., Uncut Coke, Toxic Tom, Jermaine Underwood, Lamitra, Joey, Arthur White, Danny Savage in the building. Leon, what's good? Xavier Mendez, David J. D. Schiff, what up? D. Schiff said, no more holidays on the rise, Sky. F.O. Test, we need content. I know, man. The next holiday until what? September? Come on, man. Gregory, Swain in the building. Ted Prickett, what up? Ted ain't been here in a minute, huh? Professor O. Hey, happy birthday. We already did this on Friday, but I said happy birthday to Professor over the weekend. I hope you had a good birthday weekend. If you guys weren't here Friday, wish our guy, Professor O, a happy birthday. What's good, Broken Halo? Oh, yeah, I did read that message. I wouldn't be interested at this time. I should have said something to you. It's just been a very busy weekend. Oscar Sullivan, J.A., Mark Canella, Lauren over on Facebook. Who else got? Ryan Schaefer. Y'all in the building early. What's up, A. Lou, Stephen White, Mike Harris, Sean Moyer, and the many more. If I missed you, my apologies. I see a TC915 and Matish and the many more coming through. All right, I promise y'all, I'm going to try to give y'all a very good show today about the safety position. I think it's interesting. It's an interesting position. I always say this a lot, but it is because On one end, I feel like it's the strongest this room has been. The starters have been, but it may not be the deepest the room has been. I know that probably doesn't make sense, but just follow me along, and we'll get to that throughout the show. Yeah, Sasha Banks gone, man. She gone. But let's get into this roundup, y'all, so we can get this show started.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Yes, indeed. Let's get this show on the road, man. Two, I think, interesting nuggets coming out of the weekend in our roundup. Though the main one to me is not Dak. It's Dalton Schultz. There apparently at the 11th hour still may be a possibility of Dalton Schultz being signed. I don't know that I believe this, but Mike Garofalo had something to say about that, and then we'll get into how I feel and how you feel about it. So take a listen to Mike Garofalo speaking on negotiations, possibly picking back up with Dalton Schultz.
MJ, 1 week to go here to get a long-term deal for these players who were given the franchise tag. You saw two of them signed, two of them unsigned. Let's start with the tight ends, Dalton Schultz and the Cowboys. Now, these sides have actually already engaged in contract negotiations. I can't really say that about some of the other folks that we're going to talk about here. So I'm just going to project a little bit of optimism here. Now, that's just me, because when I talk to folks involved, they say, this one's going to be hard to do. You know, the Cowboys like their 5-year deals. Schultz would play on the 1-year tag at about $10 million, but then you've got David Njoku at 13 and other guys above that, so Schultz is going to want to be up there. I think within the next week there's going to be more talks. I'm going to keep open the possibility of a long-term deal for Dalton Schultz here, but we'll let you know again over the next 7 days.
He's going to keep open the possibility of it. I'm going to go with we talked to Bobby Belt a few weeks ago. I'm going to go with what he's saying here, man. I don't think there was ever really a true want to bring Dalton Schultz back on a long-term deal. I just don't. I feel like if they really wanted to get Dalton Schultz signed, they would do so. Now, I could be wrong. This could pop back up in the next 4 days. They got 4 days to the end of the week to get this done. But I just don't view him. I don't view them viewing him in the same mind frame as they did with Dak, as they did with DeMarcus Lawrence, who also was on the franchise tag and they brought back. I still think the franchise tag was mystifying. I just never understood why you would do that. And I don't view Dalton Schultz in the same light as the top end tight ends. I don't. That doesn't mean he's not a top 10 tight end. Of course he is. The tight end position is not that deep. Is he important in this offense? Yep, he is important in this offense. That still doesn't mean that he should be getting paid $14, $15 million. I'd take that money and I'd put it to another position. That's just that. But Dallas doesn't seem to want to do that. We've had this conversation all offseason. They could have used that and went out and got a player to elevate their defense or another player to help their offense. But, hey, they elect to kind of coddle their own, and sometimes it bites them in the butt. Jalen Smith. All right. So we'll see in the next 4 days. I don't expect the deal to get done. We could be wrong. I could be wrong here. Who was it? John Machota asked a question in his Cowboys fan survey. Would you sign Dalton Schultz to $11 million per year? I fought with it on Friday. I thought about it and I said, nope. I would still elect to use that money elsewhere. That's just with me being me. The Cowboys don't seem to want to do that, but I would, Cowboys Nation. I would. All right, let's move on to Dak Prescott, who had his Dak Prescott youth camp on Saturday, I believe it was, and that gave another opportunity for the press to meet with Dak before training camp. And they asked him a whole bunch of questions. They try to keep it, as PG as possible and about training camp. But, of course, when you meet with the America's team's quarterback, you want to ask him about football. And they went on and asked Dak Prescott about meeting up in Miami, I think it was, with a lot of his teammates. Now, not all of them, but a good chunk of them to do some practicing down there. And I'll play the audio here for you to listen to what Dak had to say. One second. Now let's play it.
Yeah, it was great. Obviously, just being able to get away and do that. We didn't get a chance to do it last year, so obviously with the injury, but having CD, having Schultz, Sean, got the rookie out there for some reps, and Zeke obviously was just, it was great just to have that camaraderie. But then again, go over to Miami, who opened the doors up for us and let us have the facility and put in some great work that some of those guys may not have gotten in the back half of the OTAs and stuff. So,
Dak, how much of that is football and how much of it is bonding?
60-40. Well, I guess the purpose is to go out there and to get better in that, but the bonding happens. I mean, you're there 3 days and you're only there with each other. So whether it's the dinners, whether it's the hanging out, and that's what it's about. There's two of the guys that I feel like I got closer with just from this trip, and I don't know if I would have been able to without it. So yeah, it was great. Obviously, just being able to get away and do that.
Yeah, the last part to me was interesting. He talked about how he doesn't know how he would have, he doesn't think he would have been able to do that because those guys didn't finish OTAs, coach. Sounds like Dak wanted to finish OTAs, and they ended it 2 practices short, which, again, whatever, right? It happens. It happened around the league. But I'm glad the leadership qualities in Dak took over, and they went and did some of those things. They'll do more of that probably in the backyard, the Dak yard, as we should say. He was talking about how coach reached out to him and said, hey, he's excited. He can't wait to get to camp. Right around what time frame do you guys start to get those, sweaty armpits, right, for training camp? And it's around this time. So he got a chance to be out there, I think, with McEwen. There it is. Yeah, McEwen, Dalton Schultz, Jalen Tolbert, CeeDee Lamb, and Zeke all down in Miami. You can just tell Dak Prescott is just amped up, ready to go. You can just tell. For 2 seasons now in a row, off seasons, I should say, the prior 2 off seasons, he wasn't able to do these things. You had the COVID situation in 2020, plus the whole contract thing. Granted, that was done by now, but he had the whole COVID situation going on where they couldn't meet up that much. And then last year, he was recovering from his ankle. He really wasn't able to turn it on until training camp. Listen, you may be getting the best Dak Prescott you will have seen in his career. Will that mean a Cowboys Super Bowl? That doesn't necessarily guarantee that. But I think Dak will be peak Dak Prescott, or at least starting to peak as a professional quarterback in this league. And if you saw how he was, he's shredded. He's ready to go from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint. Now it's just about putting it all together on the field. But he, I think, is in the best mental and physical shape of his life. And he even talked about how he's got his trainer and the chef and all this other things. And you need that. You need to start being on that TB12 type of mentality as you're getting into this veteran part of your career, especially when, it's always been kind of put on your back as a quarterback, but it's really going to be put on Dak Prescott's back this year, I think, heading into 2022. So there we have it, the morning roundup. And did we get this right? We didn't get this right. It's cool. I'll fix it up. But that's the morning roundup, and it's not presented by anybody. It's presented by me. Y'all by me. But Ultra said Dak's trying to be like TB12 in the offseason. I think you have to be. Like, I feel like when you get to this point in your career, you absolutely have to put on that type of mentality and dedicate yourself in that way. And he's only, 30? So it's not like he's 45. But I think the whole TB12 Mamba mentality, you can be 21 and take that type of mentality, in my opinion. All right? You take that type of mentality. B Bird, I'm not worried about, I'm not concerned about him physically. I'm worried about him mentally. I think he's in the best mental shape of his life. I was worried about him mentally last year because of his ankle. So you mean like on the field mentally? Like going through progressions, reading defenses? Or you mean just mentally being prepared and mentally being ready over his injuries? Because that might be 2 different things then, if we're talking that. And I cannot find, there we go. Boom. Had to fix something. Scott, do you think Dak ends his career with more playoff wins than Romo? Oh, yeah, I definitely do that. I mean, what Tony got, like 2 or 3 playoff wins? 09, 14. He got 2. Right? Yeah. 09 and 2014. If he can't win 2 more playoff games in what? Dak got like 10 years ahead of him right now. That's Jesus. Yes. He better win more than 2 more playoff games. I mean, shoot, he better win 2 playoff games this year, but I digress. Okay, so B. Burr said, yes, going against zone defenses. Now you got to call in. Why are you worried about him going against zone defenses? He's beat zone defenses before. I think last year was more so. Again, we have to understand that he's just going to do what's called. That's, to me, the biggest downfall of Dak, is that he's going to be a coach's coach, a coach's player. This is the game plan. This is what I want you to execute. All right, coach, cool. But from beating zones, he's beaten zones before. He just didn't have a counter last year to how they played them. In fact, zone defense is not what happened last year. That was dropping 7, 8 guys back. That's hard to do when you don't schematically try to beat that. When you continue to roll out the same things you do from a game planning standpoint and say, hey, just figure it out. Well, how am I going to figure it out from throwing to a sea of 7 and 8 and you're sending out 3? There was a stat, I think it was last year. Shout out to the caller that called in and said the Cowboys are one of the worst teams in sending out 5 players in a route. Well, if you're going to drop 7 and I'm only sending 3 or 4, what do you think is going to happen? I need to send more guys out there. So, and my line's not holding up. My run game's not there. I personally think he's the least of this offense's worries. From a mental standpoint, physical, you could argue that. But from a mental standpoint, he's the least of this worries to me. I worry about Kellen more mentally, more than I worry about Dak Prescott, man. What is he, 29? My apologies. I know he's getting up there to the 30 area. I agree, Swain. Said play calling was the issue against zone. I mean, in fact, I think it was Kurt Warner who called that out. He said you cannot run man beaters into zone consistently. And in the playoff game, Kellen just would not alter his game plan whatsoever. We all know the one play he ran, I think it was 4 times out of the same exact formation. And the Niners said, all right, well, we're just going to do the same thing. And nothing ever really came out of it. So I think it's more than his mental state going into this year. Can him and Kellen get into the lab, and can he tell Kellen, yo, that's not going to work? We got to fix this. We have to switch this up. Because if we're going to run this same thing against this, we're going to be in trouble. Look what happened to Patrick Mahomes. See, people forget Patrick Mahomes struggled mightily for about half of the year last year because they played Pat the way they played Dak, but it just took the league about 7 weeks to say, well, why don't we just play Dak the same way? Why don't we just do that? And it took Kansas City some time, and they figured it out and got to the AFC Championship game. Dallas, not so much. Not so much. But that we could bring this back up another day, especially since this morning, right before I came on, ESPN, the insiders, coaches, players, all that, you know how they do their top 10 this, top 10 that. By the way, I'm going to bring up a tweet from our guy, Jayron Kearse. They polled scouts, I think, general managers, executives, players, whatever, and did a top 10 quarterbacks, and Dak came in at 10. And, I mean, we're not going to discuss it in detail today. Maybe we'll do it for another show. Maybe we'll do it later on today over on the volume. I don't know. But I'm not mad at him coming. He's a top 10 quarterback. I've been saying that forever. He's going to need a run, I think, to come up higher. But again, maybe we'll bring that up tomorrow. We'll talk about tomorrow. Today, though, I want to talk about a different top 10 list that got the reason why I started this safety thing is because of Jayron Kearse. We're in the middle of our state of the units, right? And we didn't attack safeties. And then this weekend, Jayron went to Twitter And they did a top 23 safeties, the top 10, and then they had the other guys. Top 23 safeties. And Jayron Kearse was not on it. Jayron Kearse was not on the top 23 safeties. Somebody said, can I turn my audio up? Am I too low? Might be your phone, man. Doesn't seem like anybody else is having an issue with my audio. Yeah, Jayron Kearse didn't crack the top 23. Not the top 10. Listen, I don't really care about the top 10, all this and all that type stuff. Definitely if I know what we got here. But the top 20, he didn't crack the top 23. Okay, we'll talk about it. We'll get to J-Rock. But before we get to J-Rock, we want to talk about all of the safeties, right? We want to get to the entire safety room, which I'd argue isn't as deep this year. Doesn't mean it's going to be worse. I just don't think it's as deep as it was last year. A lot of young guys. A lot of young guys there, which means there's some potential, that P word, right? Potential. But we're going to see if any of these guys can hit. I think we're going to need one of these guys to hit because you can't roll into the season with 3, not the way the Cowboys play and not how they use guys like Jayron and how they used Malik Hooker last year. And y'all know me. I get on the Cowboys for not taking this position seriously via the draft and via free agency if we're keeping it a bean. With that said, I do think they lucked up into having the most talented duo since Byron Jones and Barry Church and Malik and Jayron, and we'll get to them individually. But here's where I will give them a little bit of credit, is that they do find some contributors later in the draft or as undrafted free agents over the last decade-ish, right? Barry Church was undrafted. Jeff Heath also was undrafted. As much as we did not like Xavier Woods on his way out, I think he is a success story because he was a 6th-round pick that had at least 3 solid seasons as a safety. So Xavier Woods, Donovan Wilson has been a contributor as a 6th-round pick. Danny McCray, I believe he was undrafted. Kayvon Frazier, a 6th or 7th-round pick. So they do get contributors. That doesn't mean they get, game changers or anything like that late. But they get guys that can come in, play special teams, have some spot duty, or have some success as a starter like a Barry Church or a Xavier Woods. I'm not going to go as far and say as Jeff Heath was a success story as a starter, but he was a success story as an undrafted free agent. I think that's fair. But yeah, so that's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 guys they hit on as undrafted guys or free over the last decade or late round guys. So I mean, I'd say, hey, listen, there's a possibility that a Wanye Thomas or a Marquise Bell could make this roster. And I do have it here as a Wanye Thomas versus Marquise Bell situation. It may not be, but I do have it like this because they're undrafted free agents, right? They're the 2 undrafted guys as rookies that are going to be trying to claw and fight their way onto this roster. And both are similar players, but also different in a sense. Wanye Thomas, 6'1", 212, runs a 4.5 40. And last year, he was probably his most productive year. 76 tackles. He had 5 tackles for loss, a sack, interception, 5 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles. But it wasn't because he was playing as like a roof guy. He was more of a robber, more of a downhill thumper type of dude. I like to use the term a kamikaze type of style of player. And that has its benefits and it has its negatives, right? That kind of style can lead to some recklessness. But I know one thing that you can't say about him is that he's shy of contact. He is not shy of contact. And when you think about him being a box guy, being physical and doing a lot of that robber roll type stuff, I wonder if Dan Quinn is going to look at Wanye and say, well, I put on a couple pounds on him. Could I use him as a hybrid linebacker, safety, quasi type of guy? And it's not something that's far-fetched because Dan Quinn has come in here and talked about that role. He talked about it with Marquise Bell, and we'll get to that in a second. But I do wonder if he'll do that. So here's where I think his best shot is if Wanye Thomas wants to make this team. It's going to be special teams. I think more than any of these guys, for him, is going to be special teams because he was a special teams ace at Georgia Tech. And if he can get the attention of Bones, he'll get the attention of Mike McCarthy. Then he'll get the attention of the decision makers, Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones. So I think that's where he's going to have to try to make his mark on this team, his special teams. That's how a lot of these undrafted guys came in and made their name. Danny McCray, Kayvon Frazier, Jeff Heath. These guys had to be special teams guys first before they got a shot. Now, on the other side, in Marquise Bell, 6'3", 205, 4'4", 140, a little bit different here. While I do think that he needs to make his mark on special teams too, I think he's the better player. I think he has a little bit more traits. I think he's a bit more versatile. Not saying I'd put him on the roof or anything like that, but I think he can travel a little bit more in man coverage. I think he's more twitchy, more athletic. I just think he's the better player. And what caught my eyes was not that he was the HBCU standout, not that he's the Cowboys fan favorite right now. What caught my eyes was Dan Quinn. And we had brought this up before. When Dan Quinn came out and talked about Bell randomly, they wasn't even asking him about Bell. He just randomly brought him up in regards to taking a look at him at backer. I was like, oh, so Dan got a plan type of thing for him. So we'll remind you of what Dan Quinn had to say a few months ago at the Cowboys rookie minicamp.
So, colleges are sometimes more versatile or less versatile, or you put guys in different spots, and sometimes you find, okay, what are the best things that he would do in our system? And I try to always be really clear on that when I'm looking at somebody to say, all right, what would he do here? And, for instance, that might be a safety that, when I looked at Marquise to say, what would he look like at linebacker? What would he look like down in the box? And so, we sent, coach down to visit with him. He came in on a visit, and I had him meet as a linebacker for that day because I think he has some of those traits because I saw the hitting and the contact. So I try to just always, use my, not imagination, but, make sure the vision is there for the player because sometimes when a guy gets here, they're not quite sure what the vision is.
They're not quite sure what the vision is. Dan Quinn is a visionary. We're lucky to have him. But, yeah, I mean, I still don't think he'll be a linebacker. I just think it's interesting that Dan Quinn brought it up because that means he has the attention of Dan Quinn very early. And we know he was making some plays in OTAs / minicamp, if you want to call it minicamp. But we know he was making some plays down there and standing out. In fact, most writers, most insiders, everyone down there looked at Bell as the standout undrafted free agent guy. There's usually a guy or two that makes this team as an undrafted free agent. I think this year there's two positions that a UDFA has a shot to make it, and it's linebacker and it's safety because those rooms just aren't deep. They just aren't. I think it's 3 deep, and after that, it's a toss-up. So when you look at Wanye Thompson and Marquise Bell, they're 2 undrafted guys, and so is the next one we're going to talk about. They're 2 undrafted guys that have a shot to make this team. A shot. Not a guarantee, not anything like that, but they do have a shot to make this team. And I still believe it's mostly due to being a special teamer. But again, Dan Quinn runs 4 deep at safety, so it's a possibility. 351-999-3787 is a call-in line. If you guys want to call in, give your thoughts on Wanye Thomas and Marquise Bell competing to get on this team. I'll get into the chat here and see what I got to say about the down roster guys before we start to creep up a little bit and get into some more young players on the squad. What's up, Legends? King Element said HBCUs on the come up. It's sad that we have to even say that because we've got some of our greatest players of all time in this league from HBCUs. Lauren Michael, I agree he won't be a backer. Yeah, I don't think he will either. I feel like if they're going to get a backer type out of either one of those, I think Wanye has more of the body build to do so, and the less coverage skills and the less skills overall than Marquise. But I wouldn't want to box him into anything. Let Bell learn if he even makes a team. And maybe he can take over for a Kearse in 2 years or something like that. Because let's just be mindful here. We're talking about UDFAs, not all UDFAs. We gotta call 1 second. Not all UDFAs are going to make a massive impact on this team. On most teams, right? They usually are fringe starters, special teams guys, and then you have the every once in a while you get a Barry Church type. Do I think center, SDB says, Forniak is still here. If I had to bet, I'd say I'd put Forniak as the favorite, and he's not a 2022 UDFA. He's 2021, so I guess we can say sure, yeah. That's true too, Joseph. The starting kicker. Special teams aside, right? Special teams kickers, I should say. Kickers, punters, long snappers. I think most of the league might be made up of those dudes because I'm not drafting one. I'm not drafting it. Long snapper. Professor O says, I think tight end and maybe wide receiver is possible too. Now we're getting into the range of if we get that's tight end, wide receiver, linebacker, and see if we get 4 undrafted free agents to make the team from those positions, I think I got to see who it is and how they look, because I don't know right off the bat. If you just told me, 4 undrafted guys made it on those teams, I don't know if I'm concerned or happy that happened. Now, we could be talking about TJ Vasher, who's a year 2 guy, so he's not necessarily a rookie undrafted, but he's a year 2 guy. We could be talking about tight end. Is Peyton, is it Hendershot? I think he's year 2, isn't he? Ian Bunting. Oh gosh. Sean McEwen. Yeah, Sean McEwen is probably gonna make it. He's a year 2 guy though. Who's a rookie undrafted free agent tight end? Having a brain fart here. That'd be interesting. How many UDFAs will we get on here? Danny Savage says address Bell as Ronnie Lott. Absolutely not. What's good, Coach Mar? Toxic Sky. Could Bell play linebacker in the NFL? In today's NFL, if he puts on like 10 pounds, I suppose he could. I'm no defense coordinator. Dan Quinn wanted to take a look at him at linebacker, so who am I to say no, he can't? Right? I just think he does have good skills for a strong safety to be able to kind of move around a little bit. Okay, so Hendershot is this year. Oh, if he makes it, you think he'd make it over? Whew, I guess they could roll with 4, and he'd beat out Sprinkle. Sure, we'll go with that. Let's get into the phone lines here. We got Shavance on the line. What's goody?
What's going on, Scott?
What's up with you?
I totally feel you on the safeties. I feel like we haven't really paid a safety since Deion Sanders.
Well, Deion was...
maybe not that far back, but that was $35 million for 5 years. It was a lot of money back then.
Well, Deion was a corner though.
Corner safety. I'm just saying anything secondary. Like it seems like they never really reached for it. They try to develop it, and then we end up with 2 injured corners and an injured safety. Like 9 out of 10 years. It just seems like something we always need depth for, and we don't have it.
Yeah, I think the last time they paid a outside free agent safety, and I'm not talking about bringing him in. Like Ken Hamlin's different. Ken Hamlin came in on a cheap, was a Pro Bowler, and then he got the money. I think the last time they actually signed a guy from the outside right away for decent money was Gerald Sensabaugh, who I was a fan of Gerald Sensabaugh personally, but he was never this, great safety. I just think he was a really solid safety for the Cowboys. So you're talking what, y'all, 2010, right? Something like that?
Yeah, and like you said, he wasn't even like elite. He was solid, but he wasn't an elite safety. We're looking for the next Reed here. I don't know. I just think they need to work harder. They need to do some if it's spending money, if it's better scouting, whatever, but they need to get some good guys, and they need to hold on to them because they almost never have the depth there. I'm always, pretty much every year for the last 30 years, I'm always like, oh, do we have enough safeties? There's always somebody injured, and then we have
What's your Vance?
second-string guys getting burned, you know?
I would say, KZ's star faded really fast. But I would say last year they actually had depth.
I had high hopes from him, but
I think last year they had depth. I went into the season saying, I'm for the first time in a while, I feel really good about the depth at safety because you have 4 guys. Granted, I'll say 3. The 4th one came out of a surprise. But you had 3 guys who legitimately had starting experience in this league and had talent. And then you had a guy like Jayron who, before he was Jayron with the Cowboys, we all looked at Jayron as, all right, man, this is a decent 3rd safety box guy, 4th safety, special teams dude, who ended up coming in and developing into your best safety. So last year they had good depth. I think it's flipped this year where they're top heavy, but the depth is a little bit questionable.
right. And yeah, if people were talking about, I don't know what it was last week or something. People were talking about trading guys away. I'm like, no, unless you're getting something great, like, no, you need all the guys that you have or you can get, or until you acquire someone else. We need guys back there.
They got them.
So,
but here's don't get down on the room because you have, in my opinion, the most talented top 3 safeties that you've had in a long time. So don't get down on that portion of it. Now the down roster of it, sure, that's what we're talking about right now. But the top 2, 3, one of the best I've seen, like I said, since Byron Jones and Jeff Heath and Barry Church.
It's hard for me. What you said, I think, is accurate. You had the best 3 you've had in a long time. I don't know whether to be happy or sad about that right now. But, I think they'll do all right. I think I was that with you, or I was watching something earlier about Dak getting time in with OTAs and all that early. Like, I think this is going to be a different year. And they seemed to start hot last year, but I think they're just going to be overall better. Everyone's going to be overall better. They all heard this, they hear the talk. They hear the talk. Zeke hears the talk. Dak hears the talk. They all heard the talk. They all saw the film. They know. And they finally got a chance to work this year before the season. So I think they're going to come out real passionate. And I think the game plan is to develop players. So hopefully that's what happens because we need that to happen for a good season.
Yeah, I hope they don't need the talk. They might hear it, but I hope they don't need it. All they need to do, if they want any motivation, is turn on the San Francisco 49ers game. You want to see the second half of your season summed up into one game, it is that one. It is that one. So you don't really need to hear Cowboys fans or Cowboys haters, talking down on you to get motivated, in my opinion. Just pop on that San Fran game. And we're just talking about Dak, Zeke, the offense or whatever, right? Pop on that San Fran game, and you should be roaring to go.
I'm hoping that Dak either heard or either realized himself some of that talk about kind of taking over the game. Like sometimes you got to Peyton Manning that bitch and just own it.
Yeah,
and just
I'm
you
100%.
feel the offense, you feel what's working,
Yep.
and you take it over and you run that shit.
I
really hope he does more of that.
Vance, that is my only, I don't even want to say concern, but the question mark that I'm waiting to see is like Dak be on some, let me find my button here, some it type of stuff. You know what I mean? Like you a made man now. I'm not saying that you wasn't before because your offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach was Kellen Moore, so what's he really telling you? But you truly a made man now. So, if you don't believe this is the way to go, switch it up. And I know that's not really what he'd get paid to do. He's not a coach. But unfortunately, and with the way things are set up, you may have to take on that role.
And I think not only has he gotten physically stronger and more fit, but I think he's gotten mentally stronger. Everything from what he had to deal with his brother and coming out and talking about his struggles and just like the the confidence in himself and his physical ability and his leg, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's all going to be different,
Yeah.
and it's going to be special. I can't wait to see it.
All right. H. Vance, appreciate the call, man.
Yep, thank you.
No problem. Man, I'm seeing some names in here. Pat Watkins. I think Pat Watkins was supposed to be at that celebrity softball game, but I ain't seen him in there. Tony Simmons, can Story, or he's not asking, he says Story can be that hybrid like Kearse if Kearse gets hurt, in my opinion. See, this is where, like, I hear everybody, and I get we like the underdog story, no pun intended, but yeah, pun intended. Boy, if we're counting on an undrafted free agent rookie to take the place of Jayron Kearse if he goes down, I think we're in trouble. I just do, and we'll get to who I think is going to be that guy, but we just got to temper our expectations, man. We got to temper our expectations. That's all I'm saying about that. Island Ball, my goodness, y'all dropping some names in here. Matt Johnson, a unicorn. Yeah. All right, real quick. Let's get to the next guy on this list, and I'll get back into the horns before we get to the final four. Tyler Coyle. Tyler Coyle is the quintessential traits player to me. His second year with the Dallas Cowboys. He was an undrafted free agent last year. He's got that size, that speed, that explosiveness, that length that you love to see in a developmental guy. He didn't get a ton of opportunity last year, and that's because, one, he got hurt in camp, and they said, hey, we're just going to stash you a little bit here. And then when he did get back, he did enough, or he showed enough, or he had enough traits to stick around on the practice squad, stick around the team a little bit, and he got a shot at the end of the year. He registered about 16 defensive snaps against the scrimmage game against the Eagles. He had 2 tackles and 1 stop. And between that game and the Week 13 game, he played 35 special team snaps. And I'm going to always bring up special teams because if you're going to be the 4th safety, if you're going to be the 3rd safety, you're going to have to play a lot of that. You know? And Tyler, when he played special teams. So he's a dark horse, I think, in this whole situation. He's a dark horse because we are excited about a Marquise Bell, right? Because he's explosive, he's physical, he has the athleticism, he's fast, he's a hitter, and all those things. So is Tyler Coyle. More of a downhill guy as well, and not a guy that's going to cover a whole lot. And this is a reoccurring theme we're going to get to here, is that this safety room is not flush with a lot of coverage guys. It's mostly more strong safety type dudes, downhill box type hitters, not a whole lot of cover guys. And that's, if you look in the title, where my one concern may be is there's a lack of depth from a coverage standpoint. There's only one real true safety on this team. One, and that's Malik Hooker. And we'll get to that later. The rest of them are guys that were either converted from corner or mostly box / strong safety style of players who have to kind of prove it to us from a coverage standpoint. And that's a Tyler Coyle to me. Looks good. He's a good-looking player. When you go to camp, you see him. He's rocked up. He's athletic. He's flying around. And between the bottom 3 guys, Wanye Thomas, Marquise Bell, Tyler Coyle, expect to see a lot of hitting at camp. Expect to see a lot of oohs and ahs when you get into preseason and when you get to those hitting drills and the pads come on and things like that. These boys have something to prove, and they're not going to go out there. I'm not saying any of these dudes are going to half-ass it, but these guys have something to prove. They got to try to make the team. Hooker and Kearse, I'm not saying they should take it easy, but they can pace themselves. Not them. They got to go out every single play, every single rep, and earn their spot to be on this roster. So sometimes what happens, and you'll hear these veterans talk about it, hey, rookie, what you doing, man? We got 5 minutes left in practice, and you just came in at my knees. Well, I'm trying to make the team. So I'm thinking you're going to see those 3 guys, Coyle, Bell, and Thomas. You're going to see them do a lot of hitting with or without pads over there in Oxnard. Kel Randall said, how many safeties are making the 53? I think 4. Rodney Poole. Y'all keep dropping him. Now, I like JJ a little bit. Ahmad Dixon, man. We're talking about Lil Debbie's. Oh, y'all brought up my boy, Kwanzi Awusu Ansa, AOA. The reason why Awusu Ansa, I have to give him a shout out is because IUP. Shout out to IUP. PSAT. I was rooting for him hard. Stuck around a few years, though. James Ruff, we're counting on a lot of young guys. In a way. Again, we're going backwards. Remember, we're not starting from the top. If you look at the list, we're going backwards. In a perfect world, you don't really want to count on these guys because you got 3 veterans at the top of this list. That's the perfect world. That's why I said we're top heavy. Just with Jayron and Malik, we top heavy. Healthy Malik. So, sure, I hear what you're saying. You're counting on them, but you're only counting on them if you need to count on them. Let's get some wisdom from Coach Marv. What's good, Coach?
Hey, what's going on, Sky? I ain't talked to you in a while, man. I hope your 4th of July and everything went well.
It did, brother. Thank you, and I hope yours did as well with you and the fam.
Yeah, well, Sky, is a very interesting conversation you have here today because I'm going to give the Joneses some credit on one thing. Okay. I know this will not be one of the things that Cowboy fans want to hear, but I can see it from a coach's aspect from what I saw last year and what I see now. The defensive talent on this team is very, very deep. They have a lot of guys that I think a lot of teams would cover as developmental players that could play in the NFL when you're talking about on the defensive side. The reason I say that is with the vast amount of injuries we had last year on the defense, for the defense to play as well, and I think Dan Quinn mentioned something about they played like 23 guys on defense, 24 guys on the defensive side of the ball last year. That in the NFL season, when you can play that many people and still have some success defensively, that means you are very, very deep. And you got some good players, great players, but you have a collection of very good players that are young that you hope that everybody takes another step up from where they're at, which is going to make you even better as a defense. Because these guys, and maybe most of these guys played like in first, second year. You look at our defense, and I think with we don't give undrafted free agents chances, but in these last 2 years, we have to give undrafted free agents more chances because the pool is bigger for undrafted free agents. The pool of players is bigger because of the COVID year, where guys got extra years. Now there's more players out there that should have been drafted that couldn't. So the undrafted free agent market has better players in it now because there's still a flood of players that was hung up because they stayed that extra year. Now you'll see it thin out in the next couple of years like it used to be before. But right now in these last couple of years, there's a lot of guys that's going to make these teams, these NFL teams that were undrafted free agents that could have been drafted, but the pool of players was so big you can't draft everybody.
Sure.
So that what makes this pool of free agency undrafted free agents, where you're getting a lot of guys that are really should have been drafted maybe 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, but they didn't change the amount of draft slots when the pool of players got bigger. So that's you only got 240 guys to get drafted. So there's going to be some real competition in our camp. But the thing I'm trying to credit the Joneses is that I believe they see the vast amount of talent and developmental talent that they have on this team, that's why they don't indulge in certain areas in free agency, because they really feel that they have a team that can move up another level with talent. If these guys improve, that they're rich with players. But then it comes back to coaching. Coaching gonna have to make these guys, put the pressure on these guys to move them up another level. But I think on the defensive side, if they do, Sky, we may have something special on our defense that could last a long time.
I think if we keep Quinn around, I think it's all hinges on Quinn. I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough of some of these players to say they'll be special for a long time because they're young and they're under Quinn, right? If Quinn leaves next year and we don't see that jump from some of these year 2 guys, now we're back in square one. But, I think for this defense to be special for a long time, Osa's going to have to be special with or without Quinn. I think Jabril Cox is going to have to hit. I think Kelvin Joseph is going to have to hit. And then now we're talking, because now you got core players at all these positions for at least the next, 3 years? And that's where you can develop some consistency from a special standpoint, right? But I think it does hinge on Dan Quinn being around, or Joe Witt possibly, because I don't trust the Cowboys bringing in the right defensive coordinators all the time.
Well, I say this right quick, Guy. That's why I say that this year we got to understand this defense of last year, right? This game defense really was put together on the fly. When you have this many collection of new players with a whole different coaching staff, with new guys that's taking over the star roles in a defense. So to put this defense together and to them trying to gel during the season with the amount of injuries they had, playing that many players, this year they should be much farther ahead of schedule.
They are.
More peanut butter bodies, right?
Yeah.
And a more of a comfortable feeling with the coaching staff of what they're trying to get them to do, understanding each other, continuity. So this year, from the defensive standpoint, we will see, by out of doubt, if this is going to be something special. If this defense improves and it becomes special, we got something for a long time, regardless whoever's there.
Well, if it's special, remember, you're using the term special, so I'm holding you to that word. If it's special, I think you have a Super Bowl competing team, because I don't know that there's a special defense even in the league right now. Like it's so strange. Go look at last year. There wasn't some just all dropping defense. There's usually a couple superior, elite, stingy defenses throughout the league. I didn't see that last year. I saw a handful of really good defenses, then some mediocre defenses, some bad defenses. But just a special defense, the Legion of Booms, the Denvers, the Ravens, the Bears, the Patriots of yesteryear, I didn't really see that last year. So hell yeah, if the Cowboys are a special defense, boy, we're talking about competing for a Super Bowl, not just a division.
Yeah, and those are the things, like you said, competing for a Super Bowl, and there's teams that you can improve the defense. If we can improve the defense, and I'm not saying the defense was bad, but just from a coaching aspect, to know in an NFL team you can play 24 players and still rank 12th in the NFL with all the injuries and people being out for half a year, people you were dependent on, and you still were very productive on your defensive side in your first year of putting this defense together, when all of them basically playing their first time together. That shows me signs that you really have something special, because that usually doesn't happen. That when you play that many people just starting out, very young, first-time coordinator, that many injuries, and then you still play that many players, and you still improve your defense that well. And at times in this year, we thought our defense was dominating the game in the later part of the season. That tells me that you got something special, because those type of variables usually don't pan out for a good defense.
I know one thing, you got a special player in Micah Parsons.
Yeah, and he was a rookie.
Mm.
See, and then you talking about he's a rookie, and we talking about the whole defensive line. What do you think about this guy? Other than Randy Gregory didn't play too much the year before because he was splitting his snaps. He didn't play too much snaps. D-Law played. Everybody else on the defensive line basically was their first time playing.
Well, D-Law barely played last year. D-Law will be back.
And D-Law,
Neville.
So you talking about a totally different defense that came there. Guys switching positions, guys coming off hurt injuries, years, all of them coming together for the first time. Then you have guys in and out, 24 players, and you still rank 12th in the NFL. Just means you got something.
Well, 12th in yards. We don't care about yards. If you wanna really, stronghold your statement.
Great on third down.
They were first in turnovers, top 1 or 2 in third downs, right? Pressure, getting to the quarterback, top 10 in sacks. So yeah, I mean, there was other things that were better than 12.
Scott, those variables, when you have those type of variables, that don't usually pan out in those type of numbers.
You're right. And we talked about this before, though. The problem is defenses tend to come back down to the mean. They don't normally just go from back to back to back being the best at this or that, right? And those that do that are the special ones. So this is the year to see, hey, can this defense be special?
I think one thing our defense has to control this year, and this is where I seen that a lot of teams they play a lot of players, and all the variables I gave you before.
Mm-hmm.
We did give up too many big plays, over 20-yard plays.
Number 1 in the league.
That comes from not playing with each other, but slipping a little bit. But the thing that impressed me, you can give up those yards, those 20-yard gains, but you have the resiliency to come back and straighten it back out and then lock back down. That shows me that you are talented in a way that if you grow in maturity and grow in cohesiveness and you're learning the game together, this could be something special. But this year will tell you, and you will see it early, Sky. And when you see it, you'll say, Coach Marv told me that these things that happened last year was the budding signs of something special.
I'm surprised you said the big plays because I think that can get coached up. What's going to really make this defense special or not is the defensive tackles. It's being able to push the pocket from the middle and stopping the run. If they don't do that, then it's not a special defense. And it's a defense that can be vulnerable in the playoffs. That's what's going to separate this team from being special or not.
And now you got guys, when we talk about our defensive tackles, and I've talked about that with a lot of people, you're talking about guys and just really got their legs to play. Those guys that we're going to compete with, Nella Gallimore, the Tristan Hills, they just got 16 games under their belt. That probably just about 16 football games under the belt. So when you're talking about injuries, they just got 16. They'll be moving into their real year 2 of actual football games. When you're talking about Tristan Hill and Nella Gallimore, when you take away the injuries, you're talking about guys that did this guy last year.
If we're counting on Tristan, something went wrong. I don't think we're going to be counting on him now.
Let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you this, guy, and your boy Varsity. If Tristan Hill practiced this whole training camp, there's no way in the world that anybody can tell me Carlos Watson could be on this team and Tristan Hill not be on here.
Why is that?
Because Tristan Hill is much better.
How do you know?
If you think about it, the only reason we are talking about Tristan Hill, because we're talking about his freshman year. Yeah, he was a crazy head. Before he got hurt, he was your best defensive tackle. Then he gets hurt, he comes back, and if you watch film on him when he got back, he wasn't bad. But when you're hurt,
I let you out that
people lose faith in you. I guarantee you, if you watch film, and I'm not talking about watch film on Carlos Watson and Tristan Hill, and if you watch it play for play, you come back and say, Coach, you're right.
You're going to have me do some more homework because I totally disagree with that.
I'm telling you, we see splash plays, and we see splash plays and say, okay, but
No.
I'm telling you, there's a reason. There's a reason
down in,
why.
down out, Carlos Watkins earned respect, not just from splash plays, because he had to play one tech at 295, and he was holding up better than any one tech on the team, not name, any one tech on the team. Period. Let's be real.
I guarantee you we can go in the film room, watch that, and I guarantee you'll back up off that statement.
So you're saying that Tristan was a better one tech than Carlos?
He was a better player altogether. Carlos, if our mentality is to be physical, and we looking for push up front, and you say you want physicality up front, I tell you, I'm not telling you what something I ain't watched. Watch Carlos Watkins, and you tell me when you watch it up front. Tell me, does he bring that mentality what you were talking about, or if he's a side to side? Jump around, and he may make a couple of splash plays here and there, and we'll consider him as being a top defensive tackle. Because if you look at it,
wait. I think you're mistaken here. I'm not saying Carlos Watkins is some all-American national player. I personally hope that somebody beats him off the roster because I didn't see him making this team last year. I'm just talking about 2021. You're comparing Carlos and Tristan. And you said that Tristan was the better player. I didn't see that.
Tristan, he'll be your backup 3 technique to Osa. Okay. And when this pans out, when he plays a whole training camp, because this thing about Sky, and I think people forget about this. The year before he got hurt, right? Who did the Cowboys rate about dominating in training camp that year?
Wasn't Tristan. They weren't raving about him dominating. No. I remember this specifically. Coach, what's his name? The mob coach came out and said, hey, man, we're proud of Tristan Hill because mentally he is maturing. He was maturing from a mental standpoint because a year before that, he was not. He was in the doghouse. And you said he was the best defensive tackle. That's like saying somebody's the best in a room that's trash. In 2020, your defensive tackles were rookie Neville Gallimore, who I thought was better, by the way, who was Dontari Poe, and who else?
I would challenge anybody that's going to the film room to look at that.
I will. In fact, I got time today. I'm gonna go. I mean, not that I've already looked at Tristan Hill.
And I'm telling you what you watch. You watch Tristan Hill, and you look, and then you take the stats.
Oh, wait! You saying that Tristan was better than Neville in year one in 2020?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, Coach. All right, I'm gonna let you finish.
Neville Gallimore only played when Tristan Hill got hurt,
and he balled.
He made one play. He made one play in the Pittsburgh game. Just watch the film, Scott. I can tell you this. I stand on what you show. I stand on film. We look at splash plays and we say, oh yeah. Look at Neville Gallimore not play with his hands and play like a bull in the china shop, and tell me, for the limited amount of snaps Tristan hit, and if you want to go stat wise, look at the limited amount of snaps that Tristan Hill got compared to what they, and then check the amount of tackles that this guy be.
Tackle. Do you want to bring up? Don't bring up stats with Tristan Hill, Coach. His stats are god awful. You stick to tape. If
bring
you
him up. How many? Don't bring up his stats last year,
Coach.
When he played, how many limited snaps? How many games he played?
Coach, he barely played general.
How many games he played? How many games he played? He was out the first
just 9. I'll bring it up for you.
And he suspended one.
Stay on there. You don't want to bring stats into this. Keep it to the film, bro, because his stats are terrible.
Okay.
I'll try to find it for you. Keep talking. I'll try to find it for you.
He's out the same amount of games as Neville Gallimore. And see, the first stats that most people will go defensive line by Precious. You probably go to Precious with him too.
I'm just trying to see if I have this because I have a stat graphic for him. Wait, I found it. Here we go. Pull it up here. We done turned this into defensive tackle play.
I think he played 8 games.
There you go.
He might play 8 games.
There you go. Here goes Tristan Hill's career stats in 18 games: 27 tackles, a half sack, 21 pressures, and 8 quarterback hits. That's his career, bro.
And 21 pressures at how many games?
18 games. Didn't you just wait? Didn't you just poo pressures? You literally just poo pressures. You said, well, first thing people gonna go to is pressures, but that ain't everything. But he had more than
18 games, 3 games. We talk about career. That's what I'm saying to you, Sky. Everybody look at when we go there. We talk about the career. I said pull up his stats last year when he played 7 games.
You don't want me to pull up the stat, Coach. You don't want to do this, man. You don't want to do this. Your film, I'll give you that because that'll make me go back and watch every play of Tristan Hill. But statistically, Tristan Hill has been one of the worst. Listen, one of the worst productive players you have drafted in the top 100 in the last 4 years.
In 17 games, when they say 18 games, Scott, they're talking about every game that he got on the field.
Yeah.
His first year, he might have got 1 or 2 snaps in a game here and there. So I'm talking about the games that he played meaningless snaps. These most of his stats came in the games he played meaningless snaps. That was the first 4 games of the year he got hurt. The first 3 games, I think, he got hurt in Atlanta Falcon game. And the 7 games he probably played last year. Everything else was maybe 1 or 2 snaps in a game.
Okay. Hey, listen, man. Listen, Coach. I would love nothing more for than Tristan Hill to finally show us that he's a second-round worthy talent and be a beast at 3 tech. It will only make this team much, much better. It would truly only do that.
All right, yeah. I'm telling you, man. Carlos Watkins should be the one to go. I do agree with that. But
nah, if it's Carlos Watkins that's on the outs because of it, great. It's not like Carlos is this amazing talent. I just think he was better than Tristan last year.
I think the only reason they signed Carlos back because you needed to have a complete team before you go to the draft, because you don't always say, oh, we need to actually have some people. We need to start the day if the draft doesn't go. We need to have a team that we could put out there. That was why Carlos was signed.
I mean, technically, if they
believe 1 year contract, I think it's about $2 or $3 million. I think he signed a 1 year contract, veteran minimum again. I think. Yeah.
If they believed in Tristan Hill like you say you believe in Tristan Hill, they wouldn't have signed no damn Carlos Watkins. Why?
Well, if they didn't believe it, my question is this. If they didn't believe in Tristan Hill, he didn't practice a whole training camp last year.
And?
But he stayed on this team.
Yeah, they put him on pup. Why would you cut him? Like, no one was super out on Tristan Hill last year going into training camp because he was hurt. Right, he got hurt, so put him on pup list, and he came back week 8.
So you're saying this year when he played, he didn't play well?
Tristan Hill was average at best. He did one game. His best game was the Raiders game. Other than that, Tristan Hill was just another body out there. He's been a body out there his entire career. That's facts. That's not saying he can't maybe in year 4 elevate from that.
Watch the film, Sky, and then you tell me.
What is your point on Tristan Hill? Is Tristan Hill the best defensive tackle on this team?
He better than he played.
Is Tristan Hill the best defensive tackle? Oh, okay. So I was going to say he's the second best. He's the third best.
He's a better 3 tech than Nelly Galmo.
Where does Tristan Hill rank for you as a defensive tackle on this team? Because a player, because you know whatever you want to call it.
Well, I ain't gonna say we can't do him as a player.
I mean, eliminating 1 tech, 3 tech, whatever, because these guys are playing all over the line of scrimmage. Where does he rank on for you? He's the second best defensive tackle on the team. First best?
I would say he was behind. Yeah, well, I would say he's the second best behind Olsen.
All right, okay, we got it on record. So he's the second best defensive tackle, and we'll leave it at that one. And listen. In a way, if you're right, I hope it's because he outplays somebody and not because somebody was worse and bad. You know what I'm saying? I hope it's because Tristan just snaps, because I have not seen that Tristan Hill yet.
All right. I'm waiting on your apology. I get it though. I know I will.
All right, cool.
I know I will. We let this guy practice the whole summer, we'll get it.
All right.
It's gonna prove it where it works.
Well, listen, man. For the Cowboys' sake, I hope I'm dead ass wrong, and Tristan Hill is a absolute monster.
That's why, hey, just, you know, some Scott, I'm gonna say this very quick. Just like I'm saying Tristan Hill. I hope I'm the way it's looking. I hope I'm dead wrong with LVE. I hope I am for Cowboy State. But I don't.
We all do on that one.
But I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm dead wrong. I just hope I'm totally wrong there. So again, because we are Cowboy fans,
right?
We are hoping, we are saying these things, but we hope. We don't care who it is, as long as we get number 6. We don't care if it's somebody that we cannot stand. If they go out there and ball out, we're happy with it.
Indeed, Coach.
Cowboy fans, and we true Cowboys.
This been good one, Coach. This been good one. But I'll definitely pin this, and we'll definitely wrap. Hey, listen, I'm gonna be down there. I'm gonna see Tristan Hill, and hopefully, you know, that get off is consistent and things like that. And I'll report to you. I'll let you know exactly what I see down there.
Hey. I got one person in my corner, man. Ask your boy Box what do you think about Tristan?
I don't got to. I know that's one of his sons. You know what I'm saying? But if you were paying attention, but if you were paying attention to our show, if you watch our show, even Vach was like, yo, Tristan Hill might be on the outs. So he
can't be hurt. He can't be hurt. He can't be getting suspended. None of that. He got to be on the field and continue to play. That's it. He's not going to get the benefit of the doubt being out.
Listen, you better hope
he got to be on the field.
You better hope that Golston don't show off either in there. I'm just saying. You better hope that's not the case for
Golston's going to be great.
At what? In the 3-tech?
It's all going to make it. This is how deep we is, man. We talking about guys probably third and fourth come out.
Right now,
how good. I'm telling you, Scott, we are deep.
If Golston's going to be great, you can say goodbye to Tristan Hill. I'm telling you that right now, Coach. But all right, man. Good call, man. Appreciate you.
All right, man. Have a good one, Scott.
Well, that took a turn. That one took a turn. I didn't expect that to go into a Tristan Hill show. I don't see that, but I promise you, I'm going to go and watch more Tristan Hill film. More. Because one thing I do not see is the best defensive tackle on this team or second best defensive tackle on this team. He's not a total bum. He got talent, mainly the quickness of a get off. But to go as that far, interesting. Let's take a quick little break until we're going to get into this top 4, and I'll come into the chat real quick because that one was interesting. Of course, when we take our break, we talk about this week's ride of the week, which is the Freeman Hyundai 2022 Hyundai Venue. The Venue ranks in the top third of the subcompact SUV class thanks to in parts to its roomy seating space, great fuel economy, spry drive dynamics, affordable pricing, and many standard tech and safety features. But don't confuse its bargain price for lack of desirable features or a cut rate interior. Oh, on the contrary. Every Venue has a host of standard drive assist and robust infotainment system like most of these new Hyundais / Mazdas. Amazing infotainment systems. Check out more on the Freeman Hyundai Ride of the Week, which is the 2022 Hyundai Venue at freemanhyundai.com or visit Freeman Hyundai in Irving, Texas.
You're listening to A to Z Sports.
Do it live!
At some point, hoping to broadcast
in front of the millions
of Cowboys fans to bring you the real. But for now, strap up and here's your host, Skywalker Steele.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
We'll do it live.
Y'all wrong, man. King Element, man. How dare y'all talk this mess on Tristan Hill? Tristan's a strong, independent black woman. Oh, man. He said I feel bad for getting on him. Here's the thing about it. I want Tristan to be amazing. That's just going to make the Cowboys that much better. But I can't, in good faith, y'all know me, I can't come on here and fake the funk. I'm not just going to ride a wave because one of the callers said something or that might be a wave. I just didn't see him being an impactful defensive tackle on down in, down out basis. At best, he was an average player. But I don't think he has average talent. I do think he has talent to be better. He just has to put it all together. We're in year 4, though. We're in year 4. It's time. He definitely looks like somebody's auntie. I gotta stop. D-Shift, that's dead wrong. Oh, my gosh. Y'all, come on, man. Let's move on. Y'all gonna leave him alone. Hold tight, callers. I'm gonna lock this up because we got 3 on here. Let's get to the rest of this list. I'm gonna fly through it here, man. Israel Ukwamu. Izzy, I don't really have too much to say about Izzy, man. We didn't get the chance to see him at all last year. At all. He got hurt, I think, or it was one of those, hey, Izzy, your ankle hurt, right? Now, no. Your ankle's hurt. IR. We'll see you next year. If y'all want to go check out Mauricio Rodriguez's interview with Israel Ukwamu, do that. I took a snippet of it, but make sure y'all go and do that. It's somewhere in our archives here. He sat down, had a fantastic conversation with him. So it sounds like he's ready to go. 6'4", about 200-something pounds. He was a cornerback at South Carolina, moved to safety here, back and forth at South Carolina, matter of fact. So it's a possibility that he may be your free safety behind Malik Hooker. But that's a lot of inexperience right there. That's a lot of experience. But here's the player I really want to get to because, Izzy is a huge question mark, maybe the biggest question mark of all these guys because you hadn't seen him play since his college days 2 years ago. Here's who I think is going to be that swing safety of sorts, and that's Donovan Wilson. We have the swing tackle. We dub things the swing guard and things like that. But I think Donovan Wilson is your swing safety. And you can take that how you want to take it right now. Because I don't necessarily look at him as a true free safety. I think he has the range, though. I think he has the IQ and things like that. But I think he wants to be that kamikaze style, throw my body around, tough hitting safety. I don't think he want to be a strong guy, but he's done both of them. Or free safety, but he's done both of them. In 2020, his breakout year, the season that got me saying that I think Donovan Wilson can be your next thing at safety. He was amazing there. He did some things at the position that we hadn't seen since I think like Barry Church. Right, but in that year, he played 379 snaps at free safety, 220 in the box. In 2021, he had 162 snaps at free safety and 109 in the box, but he only played 9 games. So while Jayron may be your most versatile, is your most versatile safety, one of your most versatile players, period, is Jayron Kearse. Dono showed off his versatility, I think, over the last 2 years. His main issue to me, though, is that the style that he plays, it leads to the possibility of getting injured more often than not. And it's more often, right? He gets injured far too many times. 9 games played last year. The year before that, he missed a few games. Granted, he didn't start off the season. But that's just his playing style, and I don't think he has the build to hold up. He's 6 foot, I think, about 205. Not a small dude, but for a guy that plays the style he plays, I think he got to be just a bit bigger. So Dono probably won't play 17 games this year, even as a third safety. That's just how he is. But when he does play, more often than not, I think he's a productive guy out there on the field. I do. So I look at Donovan Wilson as a quality third safety. I think he can be a quality starter, but I'm not going to put him at free over Hooker, and I'm definitely not going to put him over Jayron. Jayron came in and just snatched that job. He's more versatile than a Donovan Wilson, who, again, I love Donovan, but Jayron did what he did. So, right, we have to reward him as a fan base of putting him above Donovan Wilson, in my opinion. But as your third safety, come on. You couldn't ask for a better guy, a guy that can play both, a guy that can come down in the box. And I think one of his best traits that may not get a lot of pub is his ability to blitz. I think he blitzes. I think he's our second best blitzing defensive back on the team. I put Jayron up there as number one, but I think Donovan Wilson's right there. He's so quick to get there, and then when he arrives with some power. Just go pop on the 2020 tape if you want to see peak Donovan Wilson. Okay? He can play. He can play. Y'all want to trade him? He does look like R-Truth. Nah, man, I don't want to trade him, man. Is this a contract year for Donovan Wilson? Yes. We're at the beginning of free agency before I think the Cowboys re-signed Hooker and before they re-signed Kearse. I could be wrong on the timing. Y'all can let me know. We talked about who could potentially be next to get one of those contracts. And when I say one of those contracts, I mean kind of that get-ahead contract. My number one guy was Terrence Steele. My number two guy was Donovan Wilson. I looked at it as him possibly getting a Jeff Heath extension. Remember, Jeff Heath didn't get paid a lot. It was like $3 million, $3.5 million a year, over like 5 or 4 years or something like that. So I looked at Dono getting something similar, but they signed Malik, they signed Jayron. So now I'm looking at Donovan Wilson as a guy this is his last year. They're not going to re-sign Donovan Wilson unless he just goes crazy and one of these guys gets hurt. You got Malik, you got Jayron under contract for 2 years. So to me, they'll kind of try to groom somebody, Marquise Bell, Wanye, Tyler Coyle, Israel Mukwamu, or just draft a guy next year to take that spot. So probably the last year for Donovan Wilson. Probably. Dallas Sports 77 said, do we keep Anthony Brown? Sky, what do you say about that? Yes. Pretty cut and dry right there. Yep. Oscar trying to stir something up. The thing about that is I ain't gonna be mad at you with that one. Donovan Wilson's a really damn good blitzing safety. He said he's the best blitzing safety ahead of Kearse. That's my Tristan Hill take. That one I don't. Sure. I'm gonna go back. I got you, coach. I'm gonna go look. You said he's better than Neville. All right. All right, let's get to 571 before we move on. What's up, 571?
Hey, what's up, Sky?
What's good with you? Got the birds chirping in the back?
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like you outside chilling on the porch, just enjoying the morning, huh?
Oh, that's what I'm doing on my day off.
I can dig it.
So today we're talking about safeties?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the thing with safeties, around the league, by the time you get to your third safety, that's safety across the league. It's like you're fortunate to have a guy who can actually fill in both roles.
Say that last part again. I don't know if you cut out a little bit.
Oh, like when you're talking about your third safety that can actually fill in either spot, that's safety across the league. You're fortunate enough to even have one of those.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. You could look at safety as one of those positions where, there's probably not a ton of elite ones running around. So if there's not a ton of those, then, the backups aren't going to be all amazing. But I think, scheme helps. What's in front of you helps as well.
Right, and to be honest, there's not even really that many, free safeties in the league who's going to keep it. Like, if you look, go ahead and watch, Game Pass, whatever. It's very hard to even find quality frees,
which is crazy.
Yeah,
because you got a passing league. You know what I'm saying? So you would think the emphasis on free safeties would increase, and maybe it has via the draft or free agency. I don't know, but if you think that's just crazy. You would think that pass rushers would increase and the free safeties would increase because it's more of a passing league, but.
Right, and I think that's the thing. I might have put Lewis Dean probably into the first round with his pass draft, but I think Malik Hooker definitely has more of a chance to be one of those guys that's just his second year from Achilles injury.
Yeah, we had a little echo back there. Yeah, we're going to get to Malik and actually have an audio snippet of him talking about his injuries that I want y'all to listen to, because you can just tell and this was during the season, but but he is completely back from a mental standpoint and a physical standpoint. And if that's the case and he stays healthy, I think you're going to have your best free safety that you've had in quite some time.
And with Jayron Kearse, not top 23, come on.
Yeah, that's wild. I didn't even see who the other 13 were. I mean, if you want to put him outside the top 10, whatever. I mean, I'm not, again, whatever. But you mean to tell me there's 23 safeties better than him? I don't see that.
Man, that's just criminal. To me, he's about top 10. Because the one thing, if you want to look at it from his, even as a stats, he's just about there with anybody you would consider top 10 or even a little bit better.
I mean, I'd take him. I mean, I'd take him in my top 10. I mean, but again, I have to go back and look at the list because I only saw that, and we'll get to the tweet, what Jayron said. I didn't really see the full list, and I love safety play. One of the guys that was up there, I know because I saw somebody tweet it, was Justin Simmons. I would have threw the bag at him, but I think he got tagged and then eventually signed by Denver. But I know Jesse Bates, I know he's in there. I think they put Honey Badger in there, Buda Baker, those type of guys. Jayron, maybe Jayron has to do it again, and I think he will, and I think he'll get his respect this year.
And with that being said, the thing that makes Kearse more valuable to me is watching the film when he does get tight ends. That is the thing that's trying to be the future. If you get one of those safeties who can just sort of lock up tight ends, those might be the guys that can do it, especially you can do it against the more athletic tight ends.
Yeah, you're right, bro. Yeah, we'll get to them. We'll break them all down, man. But appreciate you calling in.
No problem, man.
I don't know why I just noticed this here, man, but we got the Law Nation in the building. What's up, big homie? Very good point here. Let me bring it back up. KZ only won that free safety spot last season because he knew the scheme and they trusted him more over than the other players. I think there's truth to that. I think he clearly won it because he knew the scheme, but he also clearly won it because who else was going to play free safety at the beginning of the season? Malik Hooker wasn't quite ready just yet from a physical standpoint and obviously didn't know the scheme. Other than that, Donovan Wilson was your starting strong. And as much as I love Kearse and his versatility, he's not a free, right? He's not going to play on the, especially what we did last year, where it was mostly cover one. He wasn't going to play that. He wasn't going to beat him out for that. So it was kind of by default for a number of reasons. And he wasn't bad at the beginning of the season. He was one of our more productive players to start the year. Then he decided to go home from a party and drive with a DUI. And I feel like it's so crazy because so many things can stem from that Patriots game. But dang it, that right around that Patriots game time frame on for a lot of players and this team in general, things weren't the same for KZ. Once, and I'm putting this on DeMonte KZ. I don't know what y'all want to do. But once he gave up and he read that ball wrong against the New England Patriots, he just kind of kept doing that for the rest of the season. He just was never back right. And if you actually go look at Malik Hooker, his snaps increased a lot towards the end. Oh, that was Joe. I didn't know that was you, Joe. Appreciate you calling in. See, you don't let me save it, man. But yeah, shout out to Law for pointing that out. And I'm sure Law will be down there this camp. If everybody is healthy, I think you're going to see a Malik Hooker. And I'm not saying that he doesn't have the position anyway, but he's just going to grab. You're going to see the difference. I promise y'all that. You'll see. In fact, let's go ahead. Let's talk about Malik. Let's talk about Malik because he's next on the list. And I want to play this if I can find it here. Malik Hooker talking about his injuries and where he's at mentally, and you know how it's made a difference in basically him having experience dealing with so many of these injuries kind of played a factor as well. But listen to what he had to say.
Are you surprised at all? I mean, I don't know what your expectations were for yourself physically when you signed finally, and I wonder where you are on that progression compared to what you thought.
I mean, based off my history, I honestly didn't even have no expectations at this point because, I mean, for me, it's been like a dark cloud over me since I got into the league. You know, it was all major injuries. It wasn't like it was an ankle sprain or anything like that. Since I got into the league, it was major things. So for me to finally be where I'm at right now and to be where I'm at, like, you know, it's just a relief, I guess you could say, because I done already did it already. So it's like, what else do I got left to tear, you know, be able to have a severe injury with? So for me, I'm comfortable, I'm confident in my body now. I ain't got no worries about me going out there and re-aggravating nothing. This training staff has done a great job specifically at helping me be able to maintain and stay on top of it if I have a little dinged up issue or something like that. So for me, like I said, it's about just staying the focus and keeping myself going.
It's about staying focused and keeping myself going. I mean, listen, guys, when that is your main focus, heading into anything, camp, a game, or whatever, that is an advantage in oneself, because he had too many times throughout his career, he had to worry about, oh, man, can I make this cut? Can I come down as fast? Am I as confident moving? You saw it last year at the beginning of the year. I think he came in game 2 against the Chargers, and he had some splash plays, but he also had some plays where he wasn't sure of himself. I think even all the way up to the funny, because we keep talking about this game, the Patriots game, he had some plays, again, some splash plays, but also some plays where he wasn't sure of himself and gave up a touchdown, I think, to Hunter Henry. But as he kept playing, the more snaps he got, the more confidence he got. I want to say they interviewed him after that Giants game, and that was the best game of his Cowboys career, right? You knew he was back. You saw the explosiveness. You saw the mental aspect of his game. He played with more confidence. You saw the twitchiness. You saw the talent that made him a first-round pick. And now he's going to be that guy from day one in camp, barring injury. You will have an upgrade at free safety between last year's week 1 and this year's week 1. And again, that's no knock on KZ, because I don't want people to think that KZ was a bum. He wasn't. KZ had a very important hit in week 1 that put the Cowboys in position to win that game, that forced a fumble. Then week 2, a very important interception against, who was it? Justin Herbert. And to me, I'm like, damn, did we hit? Are we seeing that 10 or 7 interception year, DeMonte KZ? And then he faded to black. Sean says, sounds like he's going to be special this year. I'm just saying, man. We had Darius Butler. Shout out to my guy D Butt. Man, I have a awesome project in the works this season. If it works out, we're both extremely busy, but to have him on a regular basis, if we can get him. But he came on last year during camp, and he said Malik Hooker's a top 10 safety when healthy. It was a bold take then, and it probably still was a bold take now, but remember, he played with Malik Hooker when Malik Hooker first came into the league, so he's familiar with him. And he came out and said it straight up. He's a top 10 safety in this league if he's healthy. The problem has always been health. Yes, he did, Professor O. He did. He says he made a few good plays in San Fran that went unnoticed. Law said he's going to be out there in Oxnard. We can all do the round table out there. It'll be fire. Yes, sir. In fact, I got dates. I think we can actually talk about those dates. August, I'm going to be out there towards the end of the Oxnard portion of camp. Me and Botch. August 5th through the 10th, we'll be out there. So we'll see about 4 of the practices, a couple of the mock games I think they'll be doing. So I don't know exactly the days you'll be there, Law, but hopefully at the same time. That way we can definitely do some cool stuff down there and just link up. Peasy, D-Butt is Darius Butler, former defensive back for the Patriots, the Colts, and the Panthers. I saw somebody else try to get in here. All right, listen, here's what I'll do. We'll get to the last one here, and then we'll get on the phone lines and end this show, because I see we got Danny trying to get in. I think Sam tried to get in too. So come on back in, Sam. I got you, bro. Let's get to the last one here, and that is, of course, the Pro Bowl snub, in my opinion, Jayron Kearse. Here's what Jayron Kearse actually had to say on Twitter, and this is the tweet I was talking about. It's not 23 safeties in the league better than me. I don't care. I agree. I mean, if we're basing this off of a career, sure, whatever. I mean, maybe there's 15, 20, say whatever. If we're just talking about coming off of last year, I don't know how you can look around the league and say that Jayron Kearse is not one of the best 23 safeties in this league. I personally think he could be in the top 10 and it wouldn't be an argument. Shouldn't, I should say, be an argument. But we talked about, my bad, y'all. We talked about Jayron's statistics against some of the top tight ends. I mean, I don't think he gave up more than 3 receptions to the Kittles, the Kelseys, the Wallers of the world. He was locking tight ends down. And it's because he has the size to bang with these dudes. He's smart. There was a dude on Twitter, and if he's a fan of the show, you know, this isn't a knock on you, but this is a play that I want to illustrate the Saints catch and more, where he said Jayron just doesn't have the athletic ability to be considered one of the better safeties, and I just totally disagree. He may not be 4'5", 4'4", but when you're 6'4", 225 plus pounds, and you can do all of these things, you can cover in man, you have some twitch to you, you can turn your hips. I'm not saying he's gonna play on the roof, but you man up Jayron Kearse with the top tight ends, I feel confident. I don't give a damn if Pitts can run a 4.3. This isn't a race. Pitts got to get those hands put on him. And nobody in the league does that better than Jayron Kearse. And that's finishing the tackles. Maybe the best tackler in all of the NFL from the defensive back position. I know Jalen Ramsey's up there and things like that, but just from an efficient standpoint, I don't think there's a better pure tackler in this league from a defensive back standpoint. And that's not, in my opinion, that's not some hot take. The numbers are there to back it up throughout his damn career, if you're being honest. But even last year, he missed 3 tackles. And over 1,000 snaps, 3 tackles. So we got a damn good one in Jayron Kearse for cheap. For cheap. Here's where I will give Stephen Jones credit on getting this guy locked in for 2 years for $10 million deal. That's going to keep Jayron hungry. Period. There's no way, you know, and he's only 28, so he's got a lot of good years left in the league if he wants to, with very minimal tread left on his tire, very minimal tread on his tire. So if you got a hungry Jayron Kearse after coming off, and a disrespected Jayron Kearse after coming off a Pro Bowl season, not one of those, oh, he's an alternate. He legitimately played like a Pro Bowler. And I haven't even mentioned he was a green dot guy. Barry Church was on this show. I should have brought that up too, as an audio. Barry Church came on here way back, and he said, what Jayron's doing as a safety with a green dot, I said, I've been in this league. I've been around multiple teams and multiple players. That doesn't happen. Safeties don't wear that. So that responsibility added on top of what he has to do, covering receivers, covering tight ends, running backs, blitzing, playing in the box, playing deep, to me makes one of the most versatile players in the National Football League. And if you're one of the most versatile players in the National Football League, God damn it, you're one of the top 10, 15 safeties in this league, period. And I digress. Real quick. All right, now we're going to lock them up. We got 3 in there. Get to the chat. D Shift said, Kearse is our Cam Chancellor. Not saying he's Cam, but it's still stuck. I'm guessing you're saying run, hit, talk shit, something like that. Yeah. Run, hit, talk shit. That's his thing. Yeah, he's definitely our Cowboys. Our Cam Chancellor. He ain't Cam, but he's what Cam meant to that Legion of Boom is what I think Jayron Kearse means to the Cowboys. Toxic said, love his attitude. Facts, Oscar. I'm going to tell you something. The Chargers game, he said, the Chargers game showed me what kind of player Kearse could be. Yes. I did a film session on Jayron Kearse, DeMonte KZ, and Trevin Diggs after that game, and I came away like, I know Diggs got the pick. I know Kearse got the pick. They took away my boy's pick, though. They took away Jayron's pick for that bull crap. But just go watch him from, all the plays and the plays that he might not made, but he was helping make. Jayron Kearse was in fact, go look at the tape. I think I might have said it on the show. Jayron Kearse was the most impressive player out of that game. That was only game 2. So we weren't ready to be like crown him as that dude, but all he did was continue to get better and better and better. And here we are with one of, in my opinion, the most versatile safeties in the league right now. Kearse can lay the hit. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Kearse said, lock the F in, Peasy. Law said, rule of 2 for Kearse. People are waiting to see if he can repeat what he did last season. I will tell you, after this year, he will get his respect. 100% agree with you, Law. I think that's the only reason why he ain't ranked up there. Is that like, well, we're not basing this off of 2021. We're basing it off of multiple years. Because you can't possibly be basing it off of 20. You just can't. I mean, the dude is arguably right there with Micah as the most important player on the defense. Arguably, I say that because we know from a talent standpoint, Micah's ridiculous. But I feel like if you remove Jayron Kearse, I said this earlier, I don't think you can put the green dot on Donovan Wilson. I don't think you put the green dot on Malik. I don't think you put it on, we're not putting it on a young guy, right? Somebody said Story Jackson. No, you ain't putting it on no Story Jackson. So I think it likely goes back to Micah Parsons. Now, year 2, Micah might be able to handle a little bit more, but if we can delay that process and just let Micah think freely as he grows, because as great as he was, he's still a young player. He's still young at the position, and he's still growing. So if we can kind of minimize how much we put on his plate early in his career as he develops, that's better for Micah. That's going to make Micah better. So, yeah, man, he's one of our most important players on this team. All right, Danny. We got through our safeties, Danny. You've been holding for a minute. I hope whatever got you upset, you were able to take some deep breaths, collect your thoughts, man, and you can come on in here with a good attitude. What you got for us, Danny?
First thing I wanted to say, I took care of that thing for you.
You did? Thank you, sir.
That's the first thing.
Appreciate you.
Now,
y'all don't need to know what he's talking about either. They don't even need to know what we're talking about.
I respect Coach Marv, but I think he's Tristan Hill's agent. I think the only thing Tristan Hill is good at is missing games. The backup 3 tech is going to be Golson. Tristan Hill won't even be on this team. That's my opinion on that. If we're going to put the tag of swing safety on Donovan Wilson, then I think we have probably the best swing safety in the NFL. That's my opinion. Because if we really think Malik Hooker is going to play 17 games with us this year, it's not going to happen. Hurt guys stay hurt. He had a good year, but his body DNA, his genetics is still the same. I think this defense could be a better defense, but statistically, no. You can't expect this defense to have as many turnovers as we did last year.
Right. That's probably not going to happen, yeah.
That's not also before. I'm surprised Marquise Bell isn't in the top 23 safeties of the, people haven't put them. We rely so much on our free, and that's my joke. We rely so much on our free agents, our undrafted free agents, because we don't sign nobody.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about fixing this team. If you can't stop the run, you can have Charles Haley and Lawrence Taylor outside. It's not going to help you. And we waited to the 5th round for my guy Ridgeway. But you have to stop the run first. So did we really go out and address that? You got Sue sitting out there. I would love to throw some money at Sue, but we don't. So we see all these undrafted free agents, and we say, oh, he can be this, he can be that.
Can this defense be special? Yes. 2-3 years from now.
What's the but? Oh, 2-3 years from now. Okay.
You know, this defense is 1 to 2 players away from being, because it all starts with Micah. Can you picture Micah coming up the middle with Sue coming up the middle? That would be scary. But we're putting all our dollars on Ridgeway, who is my guy, and I pumped him up all year. We're putting all our chips on him to stop the run up the middle. And I'm going to go one more step. Besides the NFC East, which IMG could have won, and maybe New Orleans, who did our defense go out and ball out and just destroy? I'll be waiting for an answer.
Destroy? I mean, besides, some of the NFC East teams.
Besides the East,
I would say I don't need them to be destroyed, but I think they had a good game against the Chargers. I think they had a good game. Hell, I know they got ran over.
One score game though. Chargers was a 1-score game.
Sure. But they held them to 17 points, right? And they dominated in the red zone. I'll say this. The second half of the Niners, granted, it sucked what happened in the first half, but the second half of the Niners game, I thought they played well. Who else do we have? I think the Cardinals could have been worse, but it wasn't like they dominated them. They didn't dominate them, so you're right. Hey, it's not a lot of total dominations against some of the better offenses in the league. It wasn't, but I think the potential was there.
You have a generational player in Micah. If you don't build this team around him, that's going to be a waste. And I'm trying to say that's just me. I'm a big fan of Wilson. He doesn't have the build, like you said, and the way he plays. Once you play that way, and he's played the way that long, he can't change the way he plays. So he's going to lay people out. But that's what I want for my strong safety. But now Malik goes down. Are we going to ask Wilson to play free safety?
Hey, Danny, that was my one concern I'm talking about in regards to this room. There's only one real free roof safety, and he's a guy that's historically been an injury-prone dude. So that is my concern. Yes, I love the guy. I love the room. But if he goes down, Danny, yeah, we're talking about a guy who's not true free but can play it, but he also gets hurt. So, yeah.
Yeah, no. So, like I said, great call. Don't ever make me wait this long. Nah, I'm joking.
I did make you wait long.
I'm joking. But
you ain't joking. Hold on. I ain't trying to be swimming with them fishes, Danny. Don't threaten me on. Hey, y'all heard that, right? If something happens to me, if anything happens to Skywalker still, we know who did it.
Nah. I'm your bodyguard. I'll take care of everything. Like I said, I'll take care of you.
You're my big Tony.
When you blow up, I'll be head of your security. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Everybody listen later on. 306, Guy and Watch, and we gotta have positive. Gotta think positive for this year. That's all I'm saying.
Danny said we gotta
Great
think
call
positive.
As always.
Appreciate you, Danny.
I'm on my third cup of coffee.
Must be. All right, bro. Salute. Alrighty. No, seriously. If something happens to me, Danny did it. Goddammit. I ain't hear nothing. TC, y'all about to be right on that stand snitching. If I go down, now if I do some dirt, nah. I don't know what happened. Yeah. What we got in here, man? My lady, she got me. You right. She said, this isn't going to be a long show. 2 hours later. I'm sorry. I thought that I could come in here and this would be a clean one, but we had a great call from Marv. Me and Marv was battling back and forth. We're getting some good calls, good chat, good talk with the safeties. And counting, she says. One last call. Then we'll hit the chat. 214, what it do? 214. Going once. 214 going twice. 214 sold to the chat. Hey, try to bring you in, 214. Zeus said, I know nothing about nothing, Sky. Oh, y'all ain't right. Sky's wearing a wire. That's hilarious. Hilarious. 214, you still there? Okay, all right, we got him in there. What's up, 214?
My bad.
What's up with you?
But I just had to ask, so I know Jayron Kearse is one of our top 10 players on your list.
Yep.
And I value him the same way. But with the questions about Kelvin Joseph and everything and how he, like, I don't really have any idea of how he's going to be as a player. It seems like all of our second-round picks kind of go to shit. So I was wondering if Anthony Brown got hurt or Jayron Kearse got hurt, who are you more confident in? Like Donovan Wilson or Kelvin Joseph to come in and step in?
So if Anthony Brown got hurt, who am I more confident in, Kelvin Joseph or who's the other one?
Pretty much comparing like who's more valuable in terms of the injury situation, Jayron Kearse or Anthony Brown, because of their backup roles. So who's more valuable in an injury case situation?
Oh, 100%. Jayron. You said it's Jayron Kearse is who you meant, right?
Yeah.
It's Jayron. Because I don't think it's as deep at that position where, when I say position, I mean safety. Where corner, I mean, I don't know. The nation seems to be split. I think technically corner, there are a lot of capable bodies in that room. Are there a lot of top-tier players? No, but there are a lot of capable bodies. If AB were to go down, I would love to see J. Lou get a shot out there. But, hell, Kelvin Joseph, he's got talent. He wasn't terrible when he played last year. If he plays, we don't know what's going to happen. But if he doesn't get suspended, I feel better about if AB went down, Kelvin Joseph, Jordan Lewis, as opposed to Donovan Wilson, Marquise Bell, or Wanye Thomas, or whoever is going to be the other safety.
Yeah. Even though I've heard a lot of good stuff about Marquise Bell through practice and everything like that. But no, I'm just nervous about Kelvin Joseph because I was just as high on Boss Man Fat, seeing Vouch Lombardi hump his chair and everything when he got drafted. But no, literally, I thought Boss Man was going to be something nice, and now it's kind of making me think it's another one of those second-round picks that the Cowboys seem to keep doing over the years, you know?
I'll tell you this. I did
regardless of what's going on with him.
Yeah, I did a tweet. I mean, clearly Trayvon Diggs, right? Successful second-round pick. DeMarcus Lawrence and things like that. But I think the last 10 second-round picks have been questionable, if we're being honest. You know, since Sean Lee, it's been some hit or misses or some kind of hits. Cheeto and Connor Williams, they were here, but they weren't here that long, only for their contract. So my only issue, if I even said if it is an issue with Kelvin aside, and we're talking about just football, I know what happened. It would happen, right? That's a terrible thing, and he should be held responsible if he isn't, or if he hadn't already been. I don't know how much he loves the game, right? And I think that is something that can hinder him, that can cap his potential. I can't quite remember what the Bill Belichick quote was, but it was something of the sorts that talent is only the beginning, right? You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have the work ethic, right, the want and need to be great, you're always going to be capped out. And I would like to see that from Kelvin Joseph. I don't know if that's there, where I do know that that's there for an Asante Samuel Jr. And I don't mean to open up old wounds, but you know, his pedigree is there. He was groomed to be a corner, and they passed on him because of what? I have no idea.
Yeah. No, I think Kelvin Joseph, I mean, his talent and potential was a first-round caliber player. The question was how much he loved the game and a bunch of off-field stuff.
Right.
So.
Right.
But, no, I appreciate your time, man. I love your show, and thank you for having me on, bro.
Oh, thank you for calling, bro. Appreciate you. Good call. D Shift said he gonna put 2 under the sink at the restaurant, or under the toilet at the restaurant. I appreciate you, Shift. Rocking with your boy. Professor Rose said we should have taken Asante Samuel. Yeah. And man, it hurts for me to say this about, one of our young guys that he's 1 year in the league, and obviously what happened, right? But, I'm going to start putting that. I'm not a draft evaluator. I'm not, these guys, but I obviously study the draft when it's time. But I'm not going to ignore that. Like, if I need to know how much do you love and want to be great at this game. That doesn't mean you're going to be great. That just means I know you're going to do everything in your ability on and off the field, right, to try to reach that level. And maybe I did ignore that. Maybe I just looked at the talent of Kelvin Joseph. And I didn't have Kelvin Joseph as my top corner or anything like that. But I was happy when we drafted him because I just was purely looking at the talent. Also understanding he was still young at the position. He only played like 15 games in college. But I'm like, oh, there's a potential. But the only way you can reach that potential is by doing what? Working at it, right? Wanting to reach that potential. I don't know where, I might have heard it over the weekend, but really talented people aren't always the hardest workers because they feel like they can just roll out of bed and have that talent. So sometimes you gotta treat it. I hate to say it, but you kind of got to treat it like you got something to prove. And he does have something to prove, number one. But you got to kind of treat it like, hey, man, I'm not the best at this or that. I still have to get better at this and that. Whether you are or not, right? Why do you think Tom Brady remains the same? Tom Brady refuses to call himself the GOAT, and probably until he's done. He has to prove it every time that he's the best out there. And only way to continue to maintain that level of play is to do the things off the field. So just want Boss Man to be available and learn from what happened with his surroundings. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future, bro. I see we got some cornerback talking here. Laws bring up, he said D Bland is a little more physical than Taylor Stewart. That is, I have a series we're going to run throughout camp here, our countdown to camp, and we'll bring up some of the storylines and camp battles. Taylor Stewart and Deron Bland is one of them. Because this cornerback room is going to be hard for somebody to crack this roster. And if it's going to be somebody, it may not be the one that got drafted, but that's going to be a competition right there. Absolutely. D Bland and Taylor Stewart. Andrew says if Boss Man's not in trouble, he should ball out. He should is the key word. I really want him to take over that second position because AB's not going to give it up. So if he's not just going to lay down and give it up, that means you want it via competition. I've been hearing that for a long time, Rob Parks. Jordan Lewis to free safety. Heard a lot. We've been hearing that since like his second year in the league. Yeah, Mel says we should have drafted Sam. Yeah, I know we opening up that we're it's spilt milk, but it is what it is. King Elamy, wow. Ted said, D Shift, make sure you got them gloves on, bro. Make sure no fingerprints on the gun. Y'all the best, man. Y'all the best. All right, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up. Jacob says, Scotty got a report on Christian Sam, the new signee. Law Nation does. Go check out Law Nation's breakdown on the new guy. I personally think more of just a camp body. If you go look at his history, I just briefly took a look. I don't even call him a jag. He's a camp body around the league. He's been out like 5 or 6 teams or something like that. Mostly practice squad stuff. What's the cat's name that got injured? Former Tampa Bay linebacker. He hurt himself the first day of OTAs. This is essentially just replacing him to bring him in as a body in camp. I don't really see this guy making the team, but I think Law did a breakdown on him, so check that out. Worst second round draft selection, Tristan Hill or Kelvin Joseph? I think it's too early to go that on Kelvin. It's only his second year. Granted, the off-field stuff, right, Oscar? I think by default you say it's Tristan. we can go back and look here. And trust and believe me when I say I'm going to go look at some more tape like Coach Marv wants me to do. But, I mean, how can we in good faith be like, oh, man, this was a great pick? You know? We can't ignore he was an afterthought his rookie year. He wasn't good enough. Here's the thing about being a knucklehead. You can be a knucklehead if you're good enough. No one cares if you're good enough. What does it say that he's a knucklehead over 3 years or whatever it's been, and he's just not been that guy? I truly stand by this, Cowboys Nation. If Tristan Hill was the dude that coach says he is, there's not a chance you bring back Carlos Watkins. Why? Why? Especially if you're moving Golston inside, who we've heard now from multiple guys down there that Chauncey Golston, not only has he put on 20 pounds to play more as a 3-tech and a 5-tech, but he's going to play more interior than he will as a pure defensive end this year. Who do you think is, right now, July 11th, who do you think is going to get those reps? I'm sorry, whose reps is he taking? It ain't going to be Osa. It's Tristan. One more thing. Osa Digizua was out with an injury. Tristan Hill was healthy. Guess who was running with the ones as the 3-tech? Chauncey Golston. This ain't just me. The coaches are looking at this cat and saying, we want more. So maybe this will be the year. Maybe in camp he'll be, determined and he'll turn up and he'll be that guy. And we can have a really, we already, in my opinion, got a deep rotation at 3-tech. But he's so good you can't cut him. Yeah, I'm sorry. My bad, y'all. I didn't get any of these super chats, and then we're going to get up out of here. I done did 2.5 hour shows. I got y'all on the super chats. 1 second. It's good stuff today, though. Good stuff. It kind of was a state of the unit defensive tackle / safety situation going on today. All right, we had 2 super chats today. All right, B-Wee, earlier, $5 donation. Appreciate you.
Super chat.
He said, I agree. Dak has the look on his eye. He knows something, and he has given us hell of a year in 2022. I think it'll be the best Dak Prescott you've seen yet. That doesn't mean the Cowboys is winning a damn Super Bowl. But Dak Prescott, I think, is going to be the best Dak Prescott of his career, barring injury. And then S. Rags.
Super chat.
Appreciate you for the donation. $5 donation. He says, who's the 4th safety? Are we okay if Kearse goes down? The 4th safety, if we want to go back to the actual safety room here, I think at this moment is Israel Mukuamu because of pedigree, draft pedigree, and him being a second-year player. But I think we all kind of are in the same boat here. We believe Marquise Bell has the best opportunity to be that 4th guy. So at the moment, I would say it's Israel. But once those pads come on, Marquise Bell might show something. Hell, Coyle might show something too. Coyle might show something too, man. Iceberg Q, you ain't new, Iceberg Q. Come on, man. I had to cut my shows down because I do 5 shows a week now. I used to do 2.5, 3-hour shows when I wasn't doing this thing 5 days. I can't give y'all 3-hour shows every day by myself. I get tired of listening to me talk. So I try to cut it down to about an hour and a half, but we running long today. I'll be back tomorrow though, man. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll pick it back up. It probably won't be a state of the unit. I'm trying to slow roll these things because we got 2 more weeks, this week and next week, of no football. And then we get to camp on the final week of July, and we'll be able to have some camp stuff. So maybe tomorrow we'll start our first camp countdown storyline / battle. So that'll be something to look forward to. All right. With that said, y'all, before we get up out of here, make sure you please hit that like button. Y'all are about 300 strong in here today. I appreciate that. And later today, Mauricio will be back for A to Z Sports Prime Time. So if you're not subscribed, do subscribe. By the way, did y'all peep? We had the bot in here. I put the subscribe. The only way you can comment is to subscribe for 20 minutes. We got bots subscribing for 20 minutes just to drop that in, and y'all slapped them up. So I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that. All right. We're going to hit this button. My voice is gone. I will see y'all tomorrow. I told y'all it was going to be like 8:30 shows during this dead period, so expect 8:30. Expect 8:30. But it's cool. We'll be around. I done made up for it, Lemitra. I made up for the issue from last week. I love y'all. We out of here. Peace.
Squad!